Hi, my name is Lance. I'm 34 years old,
And I'm Amy and I'm 29 years old.
and we are from South Africa, and we are
Yeah,
the Van
fun
Tonders.
Tonders. This is our personal journey, our IVF journey, something very close to our hearts that we want to share with you. This video is not medically correct always. It's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. You're going to hear things that we have experienced, and every protocol is different. Every IVF journey is different, and every couple has a different way of having their journey. A
Documenting
docu
their journey. Yeah,
yes, different doctors have different protocols, and things are just unique to every person. So what we've been through and what we have used might not work for everybody, but this video is mostly to support other couples, women, men
men,
going through the same situation as us, and just encouraging people to
to
take the
stay
leap.
strong.
Yeah,
Take the leap. Stay strong.
yeah. We're going to start at the beginning. So when we met 12 years ago.
At a friend's braai, basically braai or barbecue, whichever depends on where you are from. And I instantly fell in love.
We've been together ever since. We got engaged in 2015, we got married in 2017, and since then we've always wanted to have a family. It has been one of my goals since I've been little. All that I've wanted was just to be a mom.
And she'll be a great mom, that I can tell you.
Okay. So I have to start as to why we want to document this journey. So there are many problems, and people use IVF for different reasons. So male infertility, woman infertility, it's it's all different, as I said previously.
And we basically want to be a support to everyone that needs just a little bit of encouragement to just push through. Um, we've been through a lot, and hopefully, our story will make you want to go through this process. It is a difficult process, but if you've got a strong relationship like we do, and you just constantly help each other through every single step of the way, you can make a success of this.
Yes.
So yeah,
So when I was 14, I had always struggled with my weight. When I was younger, I never knew why. My periods were irregular. I started my periods quite late in life. And the main thing why I said to my mom I might need to have to go and see somebody is because I had dark hair around my face. And I was quite embarrassed about that. I got teased about it, and I started waxing. I shaved. It was really not a great time in my life. It made me feel less of a person. It made me feel less of a woman. And I was young. I didn't know any better. So my mom made an appointment at a gynae. This did not go well. This gynae basically checked me out, told me that I have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. This is a condition that is caused due to hormone imbalance. It causes irregular periods, it causes hair growth, acne, weight gain, and it's mainly in the ovaries that produce a lot of eggs.
it's only meaning many.
Yeah, poly meaning many. And this has had a big impact in why I had to share this because of our IVF story. So I started I got put on the pill, which I am not sure was the best idea to clear up my acne and to help me with my PCOS. It feels like that made things worse to me because it feels like my body was already struggling with hormones, and now it basically the pill gives more hormones or doesn't give hormones. So I didn't really, it was, but I didn't know much back then. So that was 2014, 2015, 2016. I then went to go and see my GP. My glucose levels got tested. They were really high because I was still struggling with my weight, gymming, dieting, every diet under the sun, and it was not great. It was not. I don't think that's how we should live as women.
Mm.
Um, After that, my GP said that she's going to put me onto glucophage. This would help with my insulin resistance, which was caused by the hormone imbalance in my body. So I said to her, I don't feel happy on the pill. It's not really helping. It feels like it's making things worse in my body. I just felt it's not for me. Then I met Lance,
The
and
best thing in our life.
I didn't really the seeing the doctor when I was younger wasn't for fertility reasons. It was more for my health and for
PCOS.
yeah,
Trying to figure out
trying
what this PCOS is.
yes, trying to deal with this in a different way. I also met my laser lady. I call her Renette. She saved my life. She helped me with my facial hair. She did the laser treatments for me. I was going every 2 weeks, and now I see her every 8 weeks just for follow ups. My hormones are always up and down, and this can cause a fluctuation in hair growth, but I don't have those hard hairs anymore from all of the testosterone that was in my body, or is still in my body, but it when you start to balance out your insulin, then things start to fall into place.
Hmm.
Your weight starts to balance out. I don't think I ever will be skinny. Um, Not that being skinny is a problem, but I'd like to be a healthy weight. Um, when Lance and I got married, we then I knew that the PCOS was going to be a problem. So I said to him, I want to go and see a doctor, a gynae, and maybe somebody that specialized in IVF reproduction.
Yes.
So we went and saw,
Dr. Lindiki.
yes,
So Dr. Lindiki is actually a funny story. When I was born, he was the doctor that actually was in the theater with my mom. He actually helped bring me into this world. So yeah, he had a special place in my heart. I can put it that way.
he then said to us, Lance needed to do a
Spermiogram.
spermiogram where he tests his sperm. He did blood tests. I did a few blood tests. Everything came back normal. Lance's his sperm count was amazing.
Oh
So,
yes.
but I always knew that my PCOS would be the problem in us conceiving. So he said we should start with the IUI. That is a intra. um,
There's a lot of information, so it's a good thing to just have a look and see, so we can explain to you step by step what this is, because there's so much information.
So I'm gonna read off of my phone so that we have the timeline
Yes.
correctly and that we don't miss anything.
Yeah, I don't want to miss anything.
So we did an IUI. The IUI is an intrauterine insemination. It involves placing sperm directly into the uterus around the time the woman is ovulating, which increases the chances of the sperm reaching the egg and fertilizing it. This IUI was unsuccessful.
Yes.
Then we had to do more testing. This involved checking if my fallopian tubes were open. This is called an HSG, hysterosalpingogram. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It's a specialized X-ray test that checks if a woman's fallopian tubes are open and if the shape of the uterus looks normal. A doctor puts a thin tube into the uterus and gently fills it with dye. The dye shows up on X-ray so that you can see if it flows through the fallopian tubes. If the tubes are blocked, the dye won't pass through. It's often done when someone is having trouble falling pregnant naturally. These results came back normal. My fallopian tubes were open, and this dye burnt all the way through. You could actually see it, which was lighting up the X-ray because you are awake during this procedure. Yes. We then did a second IUI with hormones, where we did progesterone, and I'll do another video on all the medications and testing that we did with our when we started doing our full IVF cycles. After this IUI, we still weren't pregnant and we took a mental health break. We also had a bit of bad news. Tell them what happened with our doctor.
Oh, yeah. Bad news, yeah. So, yeah, Dr. Lindico had a stroke. So, unfortunately, he could not continue the process of helping us to fall pregnant, which was a very, very sad day to actually find out about his stroke.
Then we took the time to reevaluate, do some more research. IVF is a mixture of research, trying to find the correct doctor, trying to find the best doctor, the best outcome, but it's not as simple as that because everybody, as I said, story is different and the care and the treatment that they need.
And the wait. There's always a long wait to see the doctors because they're so fully booked. So we do understand a lot of people are going through this process because it's just you wait months before you can even see the doctor for the first time. So yeah, that was the worst waiting.
And then we got the opportunity to go to New Zealand.
Yeah,
How was that?
that's pretty exciting. Well, exciting, but also it was quite tough being away from family, not being able to pursue fertility in New Zealand because it's actually quite an expensive exercise if you put it in that way. So just to put it in terms of how much it costs to do IVF in New Zealand, works out, what was it, 37,500
500 New
New
Zealand
Zealand dollars
dollars.
to do just start the process. And if you convert it to rands, where we are in South Africa, we work in rands. So that's basic 450,000 rand back in 2020 when we were in New Zealand. So justifying it, just it was a lot of money to spend just to get the process started in New Zealand, and it is definitely more expensive living in New Zealand than in South Africa. So it was just not on the cards for us to do IVF.
And we also had quite a few stresses. We moved to a new country. We didn't know anybody there. Lance was working quite a lot. I was at home by myself. So it was really difficult. It was COVID. We were worried about our family and our friends back in South Africa. So after that, we were in New Zealand for about almost 2 years. We
Almost 2 years,
came
yeah.
back at the end of 2021.
Where we left in 20, early first thing January 2020, we
Yes.
left for New Zealand. So end of 2021, we actually came back. So that's more or less 2 years, but not 100% 2 years, but yeah.
While we were in New Zealand, I and we were we knew that we were going to come back, we had to focus on our IVF again. So I had a lot of time to do research, look into doctors, yeah, look into stats. I'm on quite a few IVF support groups that give out a lot of information that help a lot with doctors and medicines and going through each step of the IVF process.
Mm.
So we got back at the end of 2021. We then took time, got back got back into working, family, our friends. We took a bit of time to go and visit people in Cape Town. We had a vacation because
For the first time since
COVID
COVID
was hot.
started. Yeah.
Then we met Dr. Tro in March 2022.
Which came highly recommended on the
Yes,
IVF groups because he's a brilliant doctor.
yes. And he is one of the best doctors in South Africa, which with IVF. So we decided to make an appointment with him as soon as we got back in 2021. As Lon said, it takes quite a few months to see an IVF doctor because they are really fully booked. So we started our next IVF. We would have, or we saw him in March 2022. We had to then do, Lawrence had to do another spermiogram, blood work.
Just to check everything again, making sure everything is still working and that my sperm count is in the perfect or in good parameters, that we don't have any issues with the sperm.
Yes. I then went for blood tests, had had all my checks done. You go in, they do a pap smear where they just make sure that all of you don't have any um, cancer cells in your around
Uterus.
your uterus, or they just check your overall health.
Yes.
Then Lance's sperm came back, as he said, amazing. Those swimmers are winners.
Yeah, they're strong swimmers, if we can put it that way.
So once again, we fell back onto me as I knew that the PCOS was a big problem, but we didn't know what else was the problem. So we did a full cycle,
First cycle
our
of
first
IVF.
cycle, in
That was of
April 2022. A full cycle, when we talk about a full cycle, that is stimulating eggs,
retrieving eggs.
retrieving eggs, fertilizing eggs, freezing eggs, and then implanting.
And the reason why we froze the eggs is because hyperstimulation. So because Amy produces with, because it means many. So she produced 23, 22 eggs.
Mm-hmm.
The first time that we stimulated, she produced 23 eggs that they took out. Okay, the reason why we had to freeze the eggs is because of OHSS. And Amy's going to tell you a little bit more about it because it's quite interesting.
So, OHSS. This is hyperstimulation syndrome, meaning when we stimulated our eggs, because I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, poly meaning many, we produce 22 eggs. They are roughly 2 centimeters when they're ready to be retrieved. So I had 11 on one side, 11 on one ovary, 11 in one ovary, and 11 in the other ovary. Meaning we could not do a fresh transfer because of all the hormones in your body and all the stress, and your ovaries are so swollen that you can't just implant after that because it won't work. You can actually
It's very, very sick.
very ill and
Yes.
end up in ICU because
Yes.
of it. So they freeze the they
Froze, yeah,
fertilize
fertilized.
and then freeze the embryos. We were then waited a month and then we did our first implant. This gets done in the doctor's procedure room, and we will place some photos to show you guys. of our first
Yeah.
transfer and what it looks like in there. The embryologist comes to chat to you, tells you about your embryos and how they're doing. Um, they get monitored for almost, I think, a few hours before they get placed
Mm.
into you, so that they can just make sure that they are multiplying, and then it's quite time sensitive, and then it gets placed into your uterus. We then placed two embryos into when we did our first transfer.
Mm.
These did not take, unfortunately. We then did another transfer in July 2022, and both of these stuck. But
There's a sad part coming.
at 4 weeks and 6 weeks, we lost our first twin, and then at 6 weeks, we lost our second twin. There's gonna be a video to show you how the doctor told us that there was no heartbeats on these videos, on the scan when we went for our final check, our first heartbeat scan at 6 weeks.
So what the doctor is saying here is on the scan you should see a heartbeat, but there is no heartbeat on the scan at this stage.
We then had to have a DNC done and a scrape. This was done at Wilgevel Hospital, which is closer to our home, because the medical aid doesn't cover IVF in South Africa. So, and we are only at specific hospitals on our medical aid, so it's better to do these type of things at the hospital where we are covered, because we were already paying a lot of money for our doctor that was in Pretoria. Pretoria is about
An hour away from where we are now.
yes.
So every time we went there, or every second week, it was an hour drive that way, an hour drive back. So yeah, it was quite far going to Citro.
We then took a break after the DNC and the because this took quite a big toll on us because we weren't ready. We didn't.
Mentally, we weren't ready.
I don't think people actually know what loss is until you've been there yourself. Like those babies were ours, but they never had heartbeats. So it was quite rough on us, and we needed to focus on our mental health and build our relationship up again. It's very important that you have a great partner or support system when doing IVF, when things like this do happen, because it's extremely hard on even your partner.
Mental health for the men, especially. It's we don't really talk about it. We keep it close to our hearts, but it is serious. I had a big mental breakdown, um, and it does show you how much it actually affects a men too. So I do understand that we all go through it, and having a good partner, you actually you can get through it. You can make it. So yeah.
And it's important to take those breaks between IVF
Mm,
because in between your retrieve your cycles, if you have had an unsuccessful
mm.
cycle, so that you're ready and mentally prepared for the next cycle.
It's more than mentally prepared because it is it is something big that you're taking on. So if you're not mentally in the right mind or in the mind space, you're not going to be ready for that transplant. It's it's just never going to work because you're not in the headspace is not there.
In October 2022, we had our DNC. We then took a breather, as we said, and we did another two embryo. We did a multiple embryo transfer in March 2023. That transfer was unsuccessful, and then Lance and I said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on I needed to get my body back to normal, needed to get rid of some of the hormones. We joined a CrossFit gym.
Mm.
We started, we ate healthy again, even though we did eat healthy during our IVF. It's just the hormones do take a toll on your body. You do pick up weight. There are things that you just can't get
Yeah, you
around.
can't get around it. Yeah.
So I was actually at a concert in 2023 in July, and I met a couple there. We were talking about children, and they were talking about their children and their IVF journey. And I told them about ours, and because this is how these things work. You meet amazing people
All the time.
and you talk about your journey and you ask them how their journeys are and what they did and who they saw. And they said to us they were with Tro. He's an amazing doctor, but sometimes it's,
It's not a doctor for them or for you.
yeah, and that's
So
also okay.
yeah, that's okay.
So they told us about this a new doctor that they were with, and they had a successful transfer. They had a successful pregnancy and baby, and this doctor actually was an IVF specialist, and he was a reproductive specialist that specialized in PCOS, and that was amazing because I needed more information about my PCOS and our IVF
Mm.
and how it was affecting my IVF and what I could do better. So I contacted them, we made an appointment, and this took a few months.
Yes, this took a couple of months to just get appointment.
Yes, we had,
Just so busy.
yes. So we got an appointment, we had to do our tests again. Lance had to do his spermiogram again, bloods.
That's quite interesting because this one was the worst one ever. Because you actually there's a little room on the outside in the parking lot. So it sounds weird, but that's where it is. And that's where you go and do the deed with people walking around, cars driving around, and it's the weirdest little room that you'll ever see. And when you walk out there, you just walk down with your head down to the ground because you feel ashamed of what just you just had to do to just do your spermiogram. So yeah,
And
that's
then you have to carry your
yeah,
sperm.
you have to carry it and then walk in. Where everybody knows what you just did. And yeah, that's I mean, guys, you know, if you've been through it, you know what it's like. Hectic.
Small sample for big reward.
Yes, might be a small sample. They give you a big bottle, small sample, but it's the count, the amount of sperm in that small sample that counts.
Then we finally got to see Van Tonder. Sorry that I keep on looking at my phone, but as I said, I want to just keep the timeline correct. We met Dr. Van Tonder at the end of
Yes, his
2023.
name is Van Tonder. His surname is Van Tonder too. Not family, just by coincidence. It's also a Van Tonder.
So the Van Tonders are with Van Tonder.
Yes.
Yes. He was amazing. We told him our backstory. We told him about our previous transfers. We told him that we still had embryos at our previous clinic. And he then said to us he would suggest that we do a new cycle with new embryos, new medication, and because most likely the embryos that were left at our old clinic were the lower
Yeah, the
grade
lower grade
embryos.
embryos, not good quality.
Yes, so embryos get graded, but we'll tell you more
Mm.
about that in another video when we speak about the medications. So we started our journey with Van Tonder in February 2024 because Jan is sort of like a month. It's a long month, but not much gets done in South
Yeah,
Africa in
no.
January. Um, He, we always have a laugh with Van Tonder when he speaks about Lance's sperm. Because what does he always tell you?
He calls it windbestuiving. So that's an Afrikaans word. So it means every time the wind blows and I walk past Amy, she's supposed to be pregnant already. because my sperm count is so good. So yeah, it's always like a little joke in between us when he sees us.
It's good to have a great relationship with your doctor, where you can feel um,
Comfortable.
comfortable to.
And you feel welcome, and you don't feel like you actually can have a conversation. And that's a little bit of a small thing that was lacking with Tro. We couldn't really have a conversation because he's a very shy guy, so you can't really have a good conversation with him. And where Dr. Fontonda now, it's you can actually have a conversation with him, and he tells you exactly what you need to know and what you want to know. So it's that's a positive thing, I think.
Yeah. Then we did a full cycle in 2024, February. We stimulated again. We got, we harvested 26 eggs.
There was a lot of eggs.
So then they get, due to the OHSS, as we spoke about previously, they could not do a fresh transfer, so they got, all 26 got frozen. It got, they first
Yeah,
got
they
it,
got inseminated, frozen, or inseminated. Growth. They grow it for 5 days to
yes.
see if they multiply, and then they got frozen. And we sent some of our samples away for testing to see what grade our sperm or our embryos are, just so we can implant tested ones, and we know we're putting good quality embryos into Amy's body when it's ready for implantation.
And we did not know about the testing of the embryos at our
Oh, yeah.
previous clinic. So when they do the testing of the embryos, they can detect if there's any deformities, sicknesses,
Bone sicknesses,
quite a whole list that
immune
we'll go
sicknesses,
through.
but yeah, a lot of stuff.
We'll also discuss the pricing of all of this and exactly what was tested for when we do our next video on all of the in-depth information.
Hmm.
Yes. So we implanted one M baby in April 2024.
The reason for one is the doctor believes um, putting in one embryo is better than putting in two, because it gives that one embryo a better chance of surviving, and also it it's better for the mom to actually grow that baby in her body. And
Because of
taking
our
it full
previous
term
loss
because of our previous loss, he says it is better.
at
So yeah,
4 weeks and 6 weeks. So
yes,
he was hoping that by putting one embryo in, it
it's
would
got a
save.
bigger chance. Yeah,
Yes. So this did not take. This embryo did not take. So Dr. Van Tonder had to do more blood tests, and we then
more
did
medication, different kind of medication.
do a hysteroscope and a DNC. So, a hysteroscope is a procedure where a doctor uses a thin light tube with a camera called a hysteroscope to look inside the uterus. This helps them check for problems like fibroids, polyps, scarring, or anything that might be affecting period or fertility. It can also be used to treat some issues at the same time, like he found polyps that were in my uterus that he didn't see on the scans, because you have quite a few scans
Mm.
done before you implant. But polyps are difficult to see because they are small. So when he found them doing the hysteroscope, then he removed them at the same time and we did it in C. Um, Due to all the medications and all the rounds of IVF that we had done, my uterus was, in his words, angry and inflamed.
Yeah, very angry.
So he wanted it to calm down and he wanted us to basically get put into menopause.
Menopause.
That was fun, wasn't
Yes, very fun.
it?
Not really, but it was fun.
So I was put into menopause at 28, and it was one of the worst times in our marriage. It's the most difficult thing we've been through during our IVF experience, I would
Mm.
say. It was testing, it was trying. Everything irritates you, everything is dry. I really feel for the ladies out there,
No, I feel
the
for the
older
husbands. No,
ladies.
no. I feel for the husbands. Guys, I know what you guys went through. So, yeah,
It was worse. So we did have a little, I think the pill was red, little pill that saved Lance
saved
from
my
being
life.
killed.
Yeah,
And
I'm still here. So that's a good thing. Means the red pill worked.
and this pill basically gave me micro dosages of hormones just to keep me sane because it's not natural to go into menopause at the age of 28 and it's not easy at all. So, yes, we did that for 3 months, and then after that, we did another
Round.
round of IVF. We implanted two M babies, they both took.
So this time we implanted two. So he said he's going to try something else just to see if it works. So it was one tested, one untested embryo that he put together to see if it's going to work. And can you believe it? It worked.
Yeah.
So we got great news that we're going to be parents. Then a week later, we got the great news that we're going to be parents of two, because both of them took. So we were super excited.
This is what we talk about when we talk about the roller coaster of being happy when you get the wins and being sad when things don't work out. And it's okay to have these emotions and these feelings because you need to work through these feelings so you can move on to the next step.
And the
So,
things we're saying about the roller coaster is we got pregnant, super excited, and then bad news again. And we started bleeding. Now bleeding is it's something they call it sometimes they say no it's spotting. But when you bleed more than what a little bit of spotting is, it normally in our eyes, and the second time we went through it, it actually tells us there's something's wrong. So it's not supposed to happen. So we went next day we went to the doctor and the doctor said, okay, now he tested, he had a look, he put his scope down, checked everything was fine.
mm,
And that night it was like a horror story. You won't believe how much blood, sorry about the gruesomeness, but the blood and the pain that Amy went through that night, and that basically already told us that we lost our twins.
at 5 weeks and 5 days, we lost our twins. We went to the doctor the next day and he could barely see in my uterus there was so much blood. So Um, we lost both of the twins, and I didn't have to have a DNC because I was already bleeding quite hectically. So I bled for about, it was quite long, 4 weeks, and then the bleeding stopped. At this point, um, I was emotionally taxed. I was finished. My body was tired. I had been through 2 rounds of IVF that year. Yes, 2024, last year. I was in menopause. Then we had the loss of the twins again. And I felt angry at myself, at the situation, at we can we can actually tell you that you feel angry at God. We are Christian, and we pray, and we believe in God, and we believe in miracles, and we we believe in Him and what He's capable of. And it's also okay to be angry at Him when these situations happen, because when good things happen, you also turn to Him and thank Him. So it was really hard. So we then stopped and I went off all of my medication. That's what happens when a pregnancy fails. And we took a break. And we also spoke to the doctor afterwards. Because you go and see him a month after you have
Mm.
your miscarriage. He does um, a a
Scan.
scan just to make sure that everything's out of your body so that nothing can make you ill or that you can get sepsis and be very sick. So after that he just said we asked him what does he think went wrong, and the only answer that he had was that he thought it was my weight. So I said to Lance, that's it. I'm making a plan. I am going to go on a health journey. So I was on a health journey, I still am, for about 6 months. I lost 15 kgs and started boxing. We eat well, as we always do, as best as we
Mm.
can. My mental health is good. Lance's mental health is good, and we are actually starting our fifth round of IVF now. We went to go and see our doctor 2 weeks ago. I haven't had a period since our
Mm.
miscarriage in October. So he's put me on the pill that will help me get a period. So we're looking at about 2 weeks, and then I'll be going in for another hysteroscopy, I
Microscopy.
call it, where he wants to just make sure that I don't have any polyps or that we don't have any scarring.
He does another scrape and clean out and make sure everything is nice and clean for if there's anything that was left after the last miscarriage, everything will be nice and clean to prepare Amy's body for the next implantation.
Yeah.
So yeah, super excited.
He did do a scan at our visit to him 2 weeks ago, and he did another pap smear because I had one like a year and a half
Mm.
ago. All of those results came back perfect. He did blood tests to see if I have any immune deficiencies or immune diseases. Maybe that's why we're losing our babies at exactly 6 weeks, between 4 to 6 weeks. So yes,
So yeah, so on the one thing Amy missed is on the scan, he actually found something new that we haven't found yet. So you get so a lot of you have or girls have endometriosis. So that's when okay, Amy can explain it better than me. So let her explain it because I'm gonna just mess it up.
when we saw our doctor 2 weeks ago, he did a scan, um, and he did a pap smear to just make sure that there's nothing, because I had one done about a year and a half ago. So he needed to do some testing because I haven't seen him in almost 7 months.
Mm.
So what is gonna happen is when he did the scan, he found something new. He found another polyp that he actually could see on the scan, which was quite daunting for me because he says that you don't usually see them. And he found something called
We think it's called
an
endometriosis. So it's the opposite from endometriosis.
endo.
Endometriosis.
Yes. Endometriosis is found outside the uterus. Andrometriosis is lesions found inside the uterus. He needs to remove these, and that is also why he wants to do the hysteroscopy scope, where he will place the camera into the uterus, remove the polyp, and remove the endometriosis. So then, and he'll also do a scrape and clean out so that we're ready for our next cycle. Then we will start with our hormones, and we'll take you along with that journey. That's always fun. And
Very fun.
we will let you know how I'm feeling. I will show you how we do our medications and what his plan is. What we like about Van Tonders is he's changed our protocol every time to make sure that he's not doing the same protocol each time, if so that it's not a repetition, because you can't do the same thing over and over and expect a different result,
It's
basically.
like you said, he said that we're like a mysterious case.
Mm.
He's done every little thing possible in the whole spectrum of medication, of everything that they know how to help a person be pregnant. And the pregnancy still failed. So he calls us his personal project, trying
Yeah,
to figure out what's going on because it's so mysterious, and we want to know why it's not working. So hopefully, he sounds confident that this time he's got the proper cocktail of medication, as they call it, to get us to the end where we have our little baby in our hands. So we are super excited, and we're hoping.
we're going to take you
Mm,
along on this journey, and we always hope that it's our last IVF journey. One more thing, before we do implant, they will be flash testing our remaining 5 embryos that we have. We will explain this in depth as we know what is going to happen, but as we understand it, lab uh, embryologist will be defrosting our embryos. I say
and
defrosting,
they will be defrosted, and then
defrosted.
they will be tested, and the embryologist will sit and monitor them for 24 hours. So you can just imagine how costly that's gonna be. But yeah, so it's one of those things we have to do to make sure that the embryos are still in good quality and that you're not gonna have any issues down the line because these embryos were never tested with the initial ones we tested.
Because we couldn't test all. I think there
Mm.
were 11 of them
Yeah,
that made it to day 5
mm,
from the 26.
mm,
So, yes, we tested 5 and we have, I think, 5 or 6 remaining. One of them were not good in the initial
mm.
testing
The
stage.
initial testing,
Mm.
it stated that it wasn't, there was some abnormality they found in one of the embryos. So that one was most probably, I think we discarded that one because just for health reasons, we don't know what that abnormality is.
So, stick around, follow us, and we will take you along on all of our exciting adventures, blood tests, implants. You'll be,
Medication,
yes, you'll be coming with us to the hospital to do our hysteroscope. You won't be coming in theatre, but you'll be there waiting with Lance nervously as he waits for me to come out. And we are excited to show you guys how this process works.
so please just if you do enjoy our content, just consider subscribing and following our journey. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a hard journey. It's going to be a heartfelt journey. So please just follow. And if you've got any comments or you just want to reach out and just speak to us about your IVF journey,
Or if you have any
yeah,
questions,
just reach out and we
mm,
can always assist you when we can.
we've been doing this for 8 years, so I
And we've
think we
helped a
can
couple of
help.
people
Mm.
find their way. And we're happy enough to say that they've actually had a great success in their process. So hopefully this one is ours.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.